Can I? Good morning, and welcome. I tell you, we have so many great things on the agenda to talk about today, and I'm very excited about that. One of the first things that I want to talk about is NextDoor. No, that does not mean across the street. It's NextDoor. The City of Wichita is so pleased to unveil a new partnership with the NextDoor, and it's a private social network for neighborhoods, and it helps them to improve citywide and neighbor-to-neighbor communications. I also see it as a safety tool, so I'm very excited about this. City government will use NextDoor to engage our residents on building stronger and safer communities. We plan to strengthen virtual neighborhood watch efforts, and that's very important as well, because some of our neighborhoods have become a little older and a little aged, so in many cases it's better for them to use this tool of NextDoor to communicate with the rest of their neighbors. We're giving residents more avenues to easily and effectively connect with city departments and each other about the things that matter most to their communities. More than 200 Wichita neighborhoods are already connected on NextDoor, which allows residents to create private neighborhood websites to share information, including neighborhood public safety issues, community events and activities, local services, and even lost pets. We've had instances where they have gotten in touch with each other to say someone is going through the community selling this or selling that. Whether or not you want to open your door is up to you. So NextDoor is free for our residents, and it's free to the city. Each neighborhood has its own NextDoor neighborhood website, accessible only to the residents of that neighborhood. So we're saying that I, as a neighbor of the Kenmar Association, cannot tap into the McAdams Neighborhood Association NextDoor, and that's very important. You are limited to only your demographic area. Neighborhoods establish and manage their own website, so that's going to be very important that someone chooses someone to manage that website that is very knowledgeable of how to use it. The city and its departments will not be able to access residents' websites, contact information, or content, so it is not the responsibility of the city. Later on, you'll be able to ask Ms. Sandy Winsome questions. She has been using NextDoor since 2013, and she also monitors hers. Members must verify that they live within the neighborhood before joining NextDoor. Information that is shared on NextDoor is password protected and cannot be accessed by Google or other search engines. To join a neighborhood NextDoor website, please visit www.nextdoor.com and enter your address. For questions about a website, please visit help.nextdoor.com. So I, for one, tried to go on and sign in, but you have to have the precise demographics of your neighborhood and your neighborhood area. So my thought is to go from neighborhood association to neighborhood association, have my neighbors pull out their phones or pull out their tablets and walk them step by step in going through this process. I think it's going to be something that's going to be very influential with our neighborhood. It has been around for a while, and as I visit city to city, state to state, I was hearing about NextDoor, and now I'm so thrilled that we're going to kick it off here in Wichita. Another thing that's going on, and that's going to be Tuesday, is another one of those things I love to be involved in, and that's the neighborhood night out. Along with the same vein of connecting with neighbors, I'd like to encourage you to register for a neighborhood night out. We'd like for there to be neighborhood night out parties all over the city. I, for one, am one of those who looks at a map and says, let's start on the south end and work our way all the way north, trying to visit as many of the neighborhood night outs as possible. The night out will be held from 5:30 until 9 p.m. on Tuesday, August the 9th. Neighborhood Night Out, formerly celebrated as National Night Out and Celebrate Safe Communities, is an annual event that promotes neighborhood safety, and it combats crime by encouraging neighbors to get to know each other through neighborhood parties, picnics, cookouts, and other social gatherings. over one designated evening. It's not unusual for me to try to make at least 10 neighborhood night out parties. It's very encouraging to stop through, take the district advisory board as well, and make that contact with our neighbors. To encourage participation, the city will waive park fees. Let me say that again. We don't do that often. The city will waive park fees for groups who want to have their gatherings in a neighborhood park. So that should be awfully great. While supplies last, the city will also provide barricades at no charge. Let me say that again. Barricades at no charge to groups that want to block off a portion of the street for their event. And that's always something that the neighbors call and ask, where can I get barricades? How can I block off my street? You can imagine some of the ways they do that. So far, we have at least 67 neighborhood parties that are set up around the city. To request barricades or reserve a park, call 350-3400. Again, to reserve the park or look for barricades, 350-3400. Now let's move on to another subject that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the library or the Advanced Learning Center. We have a library webcam, finally, and we're all excited for the opening of the new Advanced Learning Library. While we are a ways off from the target of opening for spring of 2018, the library has developed a new webcam so you can watch the progress of the library from your own computer or from your phone. You can check it out at wichitalibrary.org. We'll take questions at this time. All three of these components are so exciting for us. We have Sandy Went, who is here from a neighborhood homeowners association, and she can talk to you about her app that she is using, Neighbor to Neighbor. And we have our library here to talk about the webcam that's going to be set up so that you can follow along the progress of our library. So we'll open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, I had a question for Sandy.
For Sandy, you have NextDoor. Sandy, you want to come up here, please?
How the web pages work and what maybe some examples of some of the items that you had on the web page.
Okay. I don't know that I can necessarily tell you exactly how it works, but when this was brought to my attention, I learned about it at a realtors convention and in a tech class, and I thought it sounded great. Our HOA, I'm with Whitetail. We already have a website, and if things went on in the neighborhood, I would go home and run to my computer and blast out an email to everybody, which obviously wasn't the easiest thing to do if I was away from a computer. So I saw this and I thought, this is perfect. I went home, and in the fall of 13, I transferred all my people over, and basically you have control over who goes in. You send out invitations. They provide you with written invitations if you'd like, and you send out invitations to your neighbors. I sent the initial invitations out one day, and by the next morning I had 70 people who have already accepted it. We now have 300, right at 300 members in our Whitetail Circle. And basically once people are signed up and I have acknowledged their existence, they have to check and say, I live at so-and-so, and once we okay them, it's just like Facebook. It works like Facebook. They can post things. Now, there are kind of limits to things that we like to see posted, and we request that people don't try to do business on it, and we request that people don't get political on it. Unfortunately, they do sometimes. But we've done everything from lost cats and dogs. We have a lot of elderly people in our neighborhood. It's wonderful to be able to say, it looks really nice outside, but it's very slick. Stay inside. Don't if you need anything, it's just perfect access to your neighbors who otherwise you may not even know who they were. And somebody can get online and say, I need help. And it's amazing how many people will respond. It's wonderful. It's been a great tool for us so far, and hopefully continues to be in the future. I love the fact that the police will have access, or we will have access to the police, I guess, and we'll get the notices from the city, because there's a lot of times that people people hate to bother the police. And if we know that we can kind of maybe give them a casual little question on there, you know, it's so much more simpler and so much less intimidating than having to pick up the phone and call 911. And I just think it'll be a great give and take. I love the fact that they can give us an awareness if there is something going on in our neighborhood. A number of years ago, we had the big brush fire out there, and that was pretty frightening. And it would have been great that they could have kept us up to date on the progression of something like that. So.
Okay. Any other questions about NextDoor? Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Anything about the webcam, the library webcam? Any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you all for being here, and thank you, Cindy, for kicking off the webcam today, and I look forward to using it. So thank you very much for being here.